great album. I want something a little bit heavier. A lot of people get into metal because of the heaviness. Today I'm going to give you my top 10 extreme metal bands. These bands are incredibly heavy. These are the bands that I think are the heaviest in the metal genre. We got bands from deathcore to even black metal. Before I start my video, put your heaviest bands down below, and you know what? Let's get started. First up is Nile. Nile are a technical death metal band. Incredible albums such as Among the Catacombs of Nephrin, In the Darkened Shrines, Annihilation of the Wicked. Amazing songs like Lashed to the Slave Stick, along with Those Whom the Gods Detest. The great guitar work, the great drumming, and the vocals just create this heaviness. Nile would be one of the most heaviest bands in the metal genre. The technical death metal spectrum, there are a few other bands that are incredibly heavy, and technical death metal and brutal death metal would be one of the most heaviest genres in metal. But overall, Nile has such a distinct sound, creating Egyptian melodies and just great guitar solos. But not to mention the blast beats, the crazy tremolo picking, and just the frantic, chaotic vocals at times. It makes Nile to become one of the most heaviest bands in the metal genre. Next up is Cryptopsy. Cryptopsy are a brutal technical death metal band. They have produced some incredible albums, incredible heavy albums like Blasphemy Made Flesh, and not to mention the intense masterpiece album None So Vile. Cryptopsy are quite progressive, are quite technical, really throwing the listener off guard at times. I would say that Cryptopsy, the self-titled album, would be one of the most heaviest fucking albums I've ever heard. But Cryptopsy have their own sort of sound. They did change the sound throughout the album Unspoken Kin, but they really channeled in that Cryptopsy sound throughout the self-titled album. But overall, Cryptopsy is a fucking heavy band. Next up we go to deathcore. One of the most heaviest deathcore bands I have heard, Annihilator. With lyrical themes such as pedophilia, sexual violence, rape, and dark humor. Some think they are a parody band, but holy shit, some of their albums are just batshit crazy. This is progressive, very progressive technical deathcore. The vocals are out of this world. Feel like someone's getting tortured in a chamber or something like that. Guitar work is just off the hook, along with the solos. And yes, Infinite Annihilator have created fucking 17-minute songs of just brutality. Infinite Annihilator would be one of the most heaviest fucking bands. The lyrics are just out of this world, very disturbing and quite impactful in tone. Albums like The Popple Leprosy of Pollution, The Battle of Yaldabaoth, which in my opinion is much more mature Infinite Annihilator, but still fucking heavy. Overall, Infinite Annihilator are a okay band now. Like, I really didn't enjoy them a few years ago, but I can really appreciate the musicianship, and this creates this heavy aspect of how heavy Infinite Annihilator can be. Next up is Napalm Death. Napalm Death, UK band. The genres mainly grindcore, death metal. Napalm Death have really changed their sound, producing albums such as Scum, which basically were the pioneers of grindcore, and also From Enslavement to Obliteration was the albums that really made Napalm Death quite big. They decided to change the sound, and yes, their sound is very heavy death metal, with albums such as Harmony Corruption, Utopia Banish. Started to experiment throughout Emptiness Fear, Emptiness Despair, which was more proggy, and then went back to grindcore, their own sort of grindcore, producing albums such as The Code Is Red, Long Live the Code, along with Order the Leech, Enemy of the Music Business, which is one of my favorite albums, and then you got albums like Utilitarian. Then you got the brand new album, which is very experimental by Napalm Death, Throes of the Joy and the Jaws of Defeatism. This is a very heavy band. Barney's vocals are incredibly guttural and deep, which creates that element of heaviness, and I just really do enjoy most of Napalm Death's discography, apart from Scum and from Enslavement and Obliteration. I know they are huge marquee albums for the grindcore genre, but yeah, I didn't give a fuck about those albums. But anyway, that's another story to tell. Napalm Death, solid band, solid releases, but very heavy. Like, I wouldn't give it to my grandmother to listen to it, that's for sure. But the sound would at times turn some people's heads. Next up is Dragged into Sunlight. Dragged into Sunlight is black and death metal, at times incorporating elements of doom metal. They talk about death, misanthropy, and depression. Holy shit, they can be fucking heavy, especially through the album Hatred for Mankind. Hatred for Mankind is one of the most heaviest friggin' albums I've ever heard. The guitar work, painful, manic vocals as well. This is a really good band, and they, in my opinion, are one of the heaviest fucking bands. The production that Dragged into Sunlight provides, especially the album Widowmaker, which is less heavier in my opinion, but come on, listen to part 2. Listen to part 2 of Widowmaker, and holy shit, it would just melt your face. But yeah, Dragged into Sunlight is just a heavy band. Next up we go to some black metal. Heaviest black metal band in my opinion is MARDUK. And they are black metal, talking about Satanism, anti-Christianity. In case you don't know, I've also did a ranking for MARDUK, and holy shit, Panzer Division of MARDUK is probably one of the most heaviest fucking black metal albums I've ever heard. The vocals are incredibly intense. Heaven Shall Burn When We Are Gathered is another heavy album. I love how MARDUK really experiment throughout the discography, sounding more like death metal throughout the album Dark Endless and Those of the Unlight, but becoming more atmospheric and traditional black metal throughout Opus Nocturne. But then they started to channel their inner sound and became really friggin' heavy through La Grande, Dance Macabre, along World Funeral, Plague Angel, and Rom 512 is just insane. Frenchvine is just batshit crazy as well. Most of their albums are incredibly heavy for black metal standards. They are at times atmospheric, but the vocals, just the intensity, the fast-paced moments as well, just in your face, batshit crazy at times MARDUK is. But yeah, MARDUK deserves to be in the top 10 heaviest bands of all fucking time. Next up is Cannibal Corpse. Cannibal Corpse, yeah, surprise, surprise, Cannibal Corpse is definitely in the most heaviest bands of all time just because of the heavy guitar work and the vocals. Chris Barnes, Georgia Corpse Grinder's vocals are just, whoa, insane. Albums like Tomb of the Mutilated. Tomb of the Mutilated being one of the most heaviest albums, along with The Bleeding, which more has a melodic flair but still fucking heavy. Albums like Gallery of Suicide, Vile Gore, Obsessed, and The Wretched Spawn, Evisceration Plague, and but not to mention Kill, one of the most technical fucking Cannibal Corpse albums, but yet the most heaviest as well. His vocals are just absolutely insane. Yeah, Cannibal Corpse would easily fit into the top 10 heaviest metal bands of all time just because of the sound, gut-wrenching moments. The vocals really make things horrific. Love the guitar work, love the drumming. The drumming is just absolutely insane, which creates this heaviness. But yeah, Cannibal Corpse sits here.
Plague leads to death. Plague leads to death.
Next up is Cradle of Filth. Cradle of Filth is a heavy band, and the heaviness is due to Danny Filth's vocals. Danny Filth has such unique vocals. These vocals are incredibly manic at times, the way he reaches those high notes as well. Albums like Dusk in Her Embrace, Cruelty in the Beast, Midian, Damnation and Dane, Amphetamine, just so many amazing albums by this band. The vocals at times will be a little bit of a turn off. Cradle of Filth, one of the most heaviest bands. The drumming, the guitar work, and the production creates this heaviness, it creates this element of surprise, and the vocals are incredibly heavy at times. One of the most extreme metal bands of all fucking time. Next up is Cattle Decapitation. Cattle Decapitation started with grindcore, moved into progressive death metal territory, and holy shit, absolutely amazing albums like Anthropocene Extinction, along with Death Atlas, Monolith and Inhumanity. Not a really big fan of the earlier stuff. The early stuff is pretty heavy, but I feel like the later stuff is heavy as anything. The Anthropocene Extinction, the amazing songs on that album, along with Death Atlas, Bring Back the Plague. Holy shit, what a great song. But yeah, the drumming is just insane, and the vocals, Travis Ryan's vocals are just fucking insane. At times you think there are two lead vocalists on their albums, and I thought there were two lead vocalists along with the clean singing and the harsh aggressive vocals. It's all just one. CRADLE Decapitation would easily fit into the most extreme metal bands of all fucking time. We will fucking die tonight. I mean, how catchy is that song? CRADLE Decapitation provide catchiness at times and provide heaviness. In my opinion, the most extreme metal band would be one of my favorite bands. It's Anaal Nathrakh. Yes, Anaal Nathrakh is easily sitting at number 1. They're the most experimental band in my opinion, most heaviest band, and the most extreme metal band. One of the most heaviest bands, but yet so catchy, becomes so sing-alongable, especially in the latest album, Enactment. Anaal Nathrakh at times incorporate black and grind, death grind at times, even played around with deathcore along with black metal, especially through the album in the constellation of Black Widow. The instrumentals are absolutely insane on these albums. The guitar work, the drums, and not to mention Dave Hunt's vocals. He shrieks, he screams, he cries of agony. It's just absolutely insane. It's like, listen to the Codex Necro, listen to Dominon Est Dignus. He provides cleaner vocals throughout the songs, along with just most aggression, the most harshest, aggressive vocals you've ever fucking heard in your whole entire life. The instrumentals create this heaviness along with the vocals. The reduction also plays a role, especially in the later albums. The Whole of the Law, New Kind of Horror, Enactment being one of the most catchy fucking Anaal Nathrakh albums of all fucking time. It's just absolutely insane. And that's why Anaal Nathrakh is the most extreme and heaviest band in the metal genre. That's it for the top 10 extreme metal bands of all time. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this short little video. Do you agree or disagree with my opinion? Remember, this is my opinion. I want to see your ranking down below, and I will see you in the next one.